Hi, my name is Emily. I'm down at the Wings over Illawarra Air Show today. I'm currently sitting out front the MRH-90 Navy helicopter with two serving military members. Hi guys.
Great, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Well, my name is Corporal Melly Johnston. I'm a crew attendant in the Royal Australian Air Force, and this is my 10th year in Air Force.
Cool.
Lieutenant Alex Clothier. I fly the MRH-90 behind us here for the Royal Australian Navy. I'm from Jervis Bay, New South Wales, and I've been in the Navy just on 10 years.
Wonderful. And as I said, we are down at the Wings over Illawarra Air Show. It was a 2-day event over this weekend. It does wrap up today at 5 p.m. If you are in the Illawarra or Wollongong area, feel free to come down and check it out. Guys, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's on show down here?
Yeah, sure. So we've got aerial displays. They might be buzzing overhead soon. You'll be hearing them, no doubt. We've got static displays of current serving military aircraft, both helicopters, fixed wing. We've got...
There's really a bit of everything.
Yeah.
There's the whole aviation spectrum. So while we've got the great aircraft flying today, just as Millie said, we've got the warbirds, which is fantastic. We've also got the Recreation Society here, HARS, so you can see all the work that goes into maintaining just these amazing old warbirds, things they've got from the First and Second World War.
We've also got virtual reality, some simulators, some flight simulators. If you have never flown a plane before, come try out the simulators. There's heaps of food vans, you won't be hungry, there's lots to see.
Coffee everywhere.
Okay, and we do have some, we've got lots of aircraft on show here as well, but we've got some Army guys on the ground showing us some of their ammunition.
Yeah, we've got members from the 4th 3 Battalion, which is a local Wollongong Reserve depot, and they've got weapons displays, equipment that they use outfield. If you're thinking about maybe joining reserves, it's a great way to chat to someone as well.
For younger people looking too, we've got all the cadets here as well, Navy, Army, Air Force.
Yep.
We've even got DFR, so you can look in there at the recruiting stuff.
You can jump into the DFR tent, can't you?
Yeah, there's plenty of information about if you're thinking about careers or you're not too sure, you might be still at school.
Yep.
Come have a chat to someone from the recruiting team about future maybe subject selection, things like that.
Yeah, fantastic.
And the Air League have a marching band.
Yeah, we have a marching band.
I think we saw that go through this morning, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. So if you've got any interest in aviation at all, it's come fill your boots.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, it is a live Q&A, so while I am waiting for your questions to come through, guys, we might start with asking how you came to join the Defence Force. Alex, we might start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined straight out of high school when I was 18. Went to school here locally, and I guess I was pretty much exposed to a lot of Navy stuff from the get-go. I grew up between where naval officer training is done at HMAS Creswell and where the Naval Fleet Air Army is and where the helicopters are out of the Albatross. My father was also in the Navy, so that was a bit of a
motivator?
Yeah. Kick? I'd say no, definitely motivator. Went straight to ADVA out of high school, spent 3 years there studying aviation technology before I went on to pilot's course. Bounced then between a couple of RAF bases, getting qualified, before coming back to Albatross in the Navy, flying 3 different helicopter types before I moved on to the MRH here. And that's pretty much it. I've had a relatively smooth flow. It's been a lot of work, but I've been, pretty clean through.
Fantastic. And now, Millie, you had a slightly different avenue of entry. Now, you weren't recommended the first time you came through Defence, is that right?
That's right. So I first applied when I was 17, but I didn't quite meet the expectations of what the role was after. And as a recruiter now, I can see that if I was to interview my 17-year-old self, I wouldn't probably give her a job either, because she didn't really know what she wanted to do. I hadn't really worked out of hours before. I'd never really done any kind of independence. I'd never spent any time away from my family. So I guess I was really quite sheltered growing up. I've got 3 older brothers. And they sort of did everything for me, so I didn't have any responsibilities basically.
Sure.
So when I got told not yet recommended, I was a bit stubborn. I probably took longer than I needed to. They said come back in 6 months, but I took 2.5 years. And in that time, I worked different various jobs and got that life experience that I really needed. I came back through the recruiting process, and it was so much easier the second time around because I knew what was expected of me, and I knew what to research, and I was just really more prepared, I guess. Yeah. And then I joined the Air Force as a crew attendant. That took me down to Canberra, where I did all my basic training. I fly the Prime Minister, Governor General around, members of Parliament, military chiefs. So my family call me a professional tourist. I just get paid to travel, so it's great. I love it. So now I'm at recruiting, and I love talking to people about what avenues are out there, because people just assume, okay, you're in the Air Force, you must be a pilot. Yeah. But there's so many different roles that you can look at.
Absolutely.
And I like to shine a torch on those jobs that haven't had the spotlight put on them before. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, we have got a couple of questions coming through, so we will kick off with those. We are at an air show, of course, so there's one flyover. Now, Now, Charlie has asked, what is the best part of the job?
For me, it's the challenge.
Okay.
There's a real big variety, and that's what I like about aviation. The weather's changing, the mission's changing, the location's changing. For me, where that all sort of comes together is landing on the ship at sea. That's the best part. Nighttime onto a pitching and rolling deck.
Oof.
It's got a good sort of charge to it, and you pretty much always walk away just grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
Mostly that you're still alive. That's my favourite part.
Lots of training.
Awesome.
My part would be I could work, say, for Qantas or Virgin, doing Canberra 6 times a day and just be bored. Or I could fly our Prime Minister or Governor General around and facilitate the business of government, basically. They can't do their job without us.
No.
And I just love getting out and doing something different every day. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, what advice would you give to someone who's going to an OSB for flight roles?
Yeah, definitely. For Officer Selection Board, know what you're talking about, basically. There's so much information available on the website.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. If anyone at your recruiting centre that might know of a pilot, that you can put them in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
We offer great mentoring programs in each centre, so make use of the resources that are available to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. And with OSB, that is a step that comes a little later in the recruiting process, yes?
Yes, definitely. After your assessment day.
Okay.
But before you get that letter of offer to join, you sit the selection board.
And that is that's something that officer candidates or flight candidates seat themselves.
Yeah, so you would have sat OSB.
Yeah, so I sat mine up in Tamworth during flight training up there. Very much what you said.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. It's really about knowing what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
When I went for my OSB, you want to rock up, you want to know what it is you want to fly, where it's based, what it does, how many people it carries, all that sort of stuff. The training process you're going to go through, how long you're going to spend at all the different bases, just what you're getting yourself in for. It doesn't take anything special to get into this job.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of hard work. You really just need to be able to knuckle down.
With education, I suppose that's one of the main factors when coming through. So, minimum education requirements.
Yep, so if you're looking for officer entry, it's a pass in English and 3 other board subjects.
Okay.
If you're looking at aviation roles, it's really important to have that physics or math background. So if you can manage extension maths or physics or a chemistry, a science element,
Okay.
that's going to really set you up in competitiveness as well. If you don't have those subjects, there's always 1,000 ways to go about it. You can go back to school perhaps, or you might want to study and enroll in something at university.
Okay, yeah.
There's heaps of ways to get in. If you didn't study those subjects at school, you haven't missed the boat.
Those things in the things in maths you learn at the time, you're like, I'm never going to use this. Like, when am I ever going to need to work out the angles of a triangle? We do it in the air. And it's,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I actually wrote to my maths teacher to thank him. I can't believe I actually used that bit. Yeah, 3 weeks ago I was using Pythagoras' theorem in the aircraft to work out something. So
don't write it off.
Absolutely.
And I guess because you went on to ADFA, so what kind of education did you have prior to enlisting and then going on to that course?
So I just finished HSC.
Yep.
As Millie said, same thing. You need to finish English and maths and 2 science-based subjects.
Yep.
I think physics was a requisite one when I went through. ADFA, pretty similar to Millie's story actually. It was about getting maturity. So you went there, you learned how you learn and how to be part of a team. So you just got that sort of life experience about yourself while you were there.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Mady has asked, how long does the recruitment process take?
Yes, so
It changes for everyone,
yeah,
doesn't
that's
it?
right. There's no hard and fast way to go about your recruitment process. If you're looking at a role that's one that we're actively trying to fill, you're looking at best case scenario between 3 and 6 months.
Yep.
Providing you've met all the requirements, both physically, the medical section, a couple of different areas. Otherwise, we're looking at something like officer entry. They only do 1 to 2 intakes a year. Like Army take 2 intakes a year, whereas Air Force and Navy just have the 1. So it's going to take you 12 months because if you've come just after an intake, you're going to have that time to tread water for a bit. Plus the process can take a bit. So I always tell people it's never a sprint. Think of it as more of a marathon. So you're in it for the long haul.
Absolutely.
There's times where you might get frustrated with the process, but talk to your military members and they can ease you through any doubts or concerns you might have and allay any fears that might pop up along the way. So it's hard to give you a definite answer, but yeah.
Get in early.
Yeah,
I think it took me 14 months.
Okay.
So I applied pretty much as soon as I could. But for aviation in particular, there's a lot of things to jump through.
So you can start your application from 16 and a half, but you can't join any earlier than 17. So if you're still in year 10, 11 or 12, just put your application in, get the process rolling. It's going to be valid for 3 years once you set your use session. So give yourself a plan B if you don't get the ATAR that you want, that you're aiming for. We'll be your plan B. We're happy to do that. We're never going to go anywhere. We'll always be around.
Brilliant. Now, Jess has asked, what if I'm not interested in being a pilot? What other roles in aviation are there? Now, you are both aviation roles. There are support roles available.
Yeah, like mine.
I actually spent some time yesterday out front the Black Hawk with Hayley, and we had a little bit of a chat about her support roles. Let's cut to that footage.
2011, so I'm coming up on 7 years service, and what I do, I'm ground crewman aircraft support.
Okay, and so you're in a support role?
Yeah, so pilots aren't just the only role in Army aviation. We have lots of different roles, everything from air crew, the guys that fix the aircraft, and all other support elements.
Okay, and so what is the difference between your role and the mission support?
So mission support and ground crewman aircraft support used to be the same role, but because the role became so specialised, they split the two. So mission support, they do all the radio communications. So you can do that communications role in other roles in the Australian Army, but we also have it specialised in Army aviation. Then we've got myself, so ground crewman aircraft support, and what we do is we do all the fuel and explosive ordnance on the aircraft.
And explosive ordnance?
So everything that goes bang pretty much. So when they go out and they do a weapon shoot, so door gun, they do flare shoot, we'll prep that EO, we'll also load the EO so that way they can go fire it all up. And then if they come back with any, we take it off and we pack it all back up.
Awesome. And so what kind of skills and qualifications do you pick up in this job?
So I've got quite a few skills, everything from driver qualifications, so the big fleet liner trucks that you see out on Civilian Street, I can drive those. Plus as well, all my fuel qualifications, so I can test fuel, I can refuel aircraft in a civilian airport as well.
So you can take these qualifications out into the civilian world?
Yeah, so it's not just my job that you can do that with, all jobs across the Australian Defence Force. If you get a skill or a trade, there's most likely that you can get it accredited to Australian standards.
Awesome. And so what is this aircraft behind us?
So this is a Black Hawk. They're my babies. I used to work with them at 6th Aviation Regiment. I followed them down from Townsville, where I did 3 years, and I now work down at 6th Aviation Regiment.
And how does your job help get these guys off the ground?
So when these guys get back from flying, the pilots pretty much truck us the keys. So we do all the fuel, so they've just used it all, so we refuel the aircraft, so that way it's good to go for next time. If they're flying with any external fuel tanks, we'll refuel those before they go away on task. We not only do cold refuels, but we do hot refuels as well. So if they're out on task with a quick turnaround, what we can do is we can set up a hot fuel point where they'll come in, rotors are still turning, and we'll refuel that. So that way they're in and out in 5 minutes, they don't have to shut down, and that way the boys can be back on task ready to go again.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hayley. We are back. Thank you to Hayley for giving us that information. Now, this is a live Q&A, guys, so make sure you're getting your questions through. I do have a question here from Jed, and he's asked, how many people can fit inside the helicopter behind us?
So it's got seats for 20 in the back.
20?
20 people. So 2 in the front, 1 in the middle, like a jump seat.
Okay.
And then the seats, down either side and in the middle.
It looks like 6 in the middle, yeah?
The 6 in the middle are the best ones because we can fly with the doors open up to about 260 kilometres an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, and this aircraft doesn't actually have a limit to how much we can bank it, so we can throw it over on the side.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really fun because while we're flying, we can see. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Now, I do have a question here about fitness. So you guys are aviation, so you spend most of your time in the air. Is fitness as important to you as it would be perhaps to someone who's on the ground?
I think fitness all around is really important, regardless of the role you do. You're not just a pilot in the Navy or a crew attendant in the Air Force. You are a member of Defence.
Yeah.
And with that comes extra work that you might not have experienced. So like perhaps humanitarian aid, where you might need to help people evacuate in floods or whatnot. You might be carrying things that you're not used to carrying on a daily basis. So if your overall fitness is higher, you're not going to struggle with that Monday to Friday job. For myself, I lift a lot of heavy bags in passengers with their cargo, so I need to make sure that my fitness is good so I don't injure myself at work.
I was going to note, as a crew attendant, you're not just giving the safety brief on the plane.
No, I'm not
you're
just
doing
tea and
all
coffee.
of it.
Yeah, so we load and unload the aircraft. We configure the aircraft weight and balance to make sure the pilot knows how much fuel and whereabouts to put it. well, we don't tell the pilot where to put the fuel, but we like to think we do.
Yeah.
We load all the passengers themselves. We do all the paperwork. There's a lot into it rather than just chicken or fish.
Yeah. And how about you, Alex?
Fitness side, of course, important. We have the standards aren't too high; they're readily achievable to anyone who's going to commit themselves.
Yeah.
It is quite important in the Navy context and with aviation. While most of our day-to-day stuff, we're coming to and from the ship, everything's okay.
Yep.
But if you do, in a bad case, get actually shot down or you go down in territory where you don't want to be,
Sure.
you want to have that fitness standard that you can comfortably escape and evade.
Yeah.
Also, you've got to remember, as a naval aircraft, we're part of a ship's company and we're part of a ship at sea for months at a time. Anything that happens on that ship, we're self-contained. So if a ship catches fire, if it starts flooding, we're part of the teams that are looking after that,
Yep.
which can involve a lot of heavy work for a lot of time. So fitness is important.
Super important, yeah. Okay, Matt has asked, what are the day-to-day routines like at officer training?
Any of us?
So
Yeah, sure.
Start with you, Alex.
So I went through a different entry. I did most of my stuff at ADFA.
Yep.
But so for the Navy, it's the best one I can speak to, you'll spend 6 months training at HMAS Creswell. So the first 4 weeks of that is your initial training period. That's your proper military boot camp. That's your waking up every morning, 6 a.m, sheets on shoulder, because you have to have your bed made perfectly with hospital corners.
Oh my gosh.
And you don't get a fitted sheet.
Okay.
So you've got to do them all properly. And every morning, you've got to come out with both your sheets over your shoulder,
Okay.
just to make sure people sleep in their bed and they don't sleep on the floor. So they don't have to remake their bed.
That's great. They figured it all out.
You'll do PT every morning, you'll do lessons on military history, etiquette, drill, bearing, all that sort of stuff during the day. You'll generally finish up by 9 to 10 at night during that period.
Yep.
Then it calms down. So you've got that first initial getting into a phase. The next 4 to 5 months at Creswell are a lot more relaxed. You're attending classes during the day and you've got time off in the afternoons. If you join the Navy, you're trained at HMAS Creswell, which sits in Jervis Bay, and it has 2 of the nicest beaches in Australia on either side of it.
Yes, it does.
And if you're lucky enough to get a free period, you can sometimes sneak down for a quick dip before lunch.
Fantastic.
It's not too bad.
Time management is key, I imagine.
Yeah.
And Millie, what about you? What was your training like?
So I did 10.5 weeks at RAF Base Wagga Wagga in Wagga Wagga. The name gives it away. And it basically teaches you how to transition from the civilian that you are into the defence member. So there's a lot, it feels like it's a pressure cooker environment, but it's all very achievable.
Yeah.
And it's designed for you to pass. It's if you don't have an end goal, which is the job that you signed up for, you can feel like, oh, I'm never going to get through this, is really challenging. But you've got to remember that you're in the recruit school with 50 other people that have joined at the exact same time, so you get each other through the whole process. And that's where those things like leadership, mateship, teamwork, that's where it's all forged early in your career. It's actually one of the best things I've ever done. I loved recruit school. I know that sounds terrible, super cheesy, but I loved it. I had 50 brand new mates when I graduated course, and I was on a really good platform to start the rest of my career. And they're some of my best mates today.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, Sarah has asked, what is the best way to enrol as a pilot?
I'd say it depends on your age.
Yeah.
Coming straight out of high school, I think ADFA was a really good way to do it. The key being that pilot's course is about how hard you're going to work.
Okay.
It's really about commitment. I'm not someone you want to pick first on a sports team, generally. You don't want to play table tennis and then go flying with me. You would be dead scared. That's not what it's about. It's about knowing what you're doing and working bloody hard. So flying, absolutely, I'm all over it. Going through ADFA was really good because it gave me that sort of higher education about myself.
Yep.
So really learning how it was I learned. So I know that I learn tactile kinesthetic and I learn through teaching other people. And once you know how you're going to pick stuff up, when you go to pilot's course, you can go, okay, these are the ways I'm going to study. And pilot's course is really about smashing you. They try and overload you with how much stuff you're learning.
Work smarter, not harder.
Work smarter, absolutely.
Yeah.
So going in both ways are fine. I'd recommend ADFA if you're going to go in straight out of high school. Direct entry if you've had a bit more life experience before you.
Yeah, wonderful. And I mean, you're a Navy pilot, and Millie, you are in the Air Force. But as for RAF pilots, we don't have anybody here at the moment. We did have Matt yesterday, actually, and I did speak with him about experience as a RAF pilot and what it was like to be in the Air Force. We're down here on the ground at Wings over Illawarra with Matt.
Hey guys, Flight Lieutenant Matt Trailing from 2OCU, RAF Base Williamtown.
And what are you doing here today, Matt?
We've brought 2 classic Hornets that you can see behind us down to the Wings over Illawarra Air Show, where we can put the capabilities of the Hornet on display and hopefully inspire a lot of young guys and girls to become a fighter pilot in the RAF.
And what inspired you to join the RAF?
So the Formula 1 race, when we used to hold that in Adelaide, we used to do an air show with the F-18 over the top of the city. And seeing that jet roar above the city, the noises that it made through the buildings and the speed at which it could fly is something that I just knew I had to do. So that happened when I was about I've been about 10 years old, and ever since then I've just been focused and want to become a fast jet pilot in the RAF.
And what avenue of entry did you take to join? Were you direct entry or did you go through ADFA?
I went through ADFA and did a 2.5-year degree studying Bachelor of Technology in Aviation before starting my flying training at BFTS in Tamworth.
Okay. And were you always academic minded?
Not 100%, so maths and physics I did pretty well at throughout school, but the last mandatory one, English, I didn't do quite so well at. So I had to get some additional help with my English to pass Year 12, the grades that I needed, but came out with a pass and then had the prerequisites prior to getting to ADFA.
Awesome. And you're here today in one of your flying suits. Can you tell me what is the difference between this uniform and your everyday uniform?
Yeah, so you see a lot of the camouflage uniform getting around on ADF personnel, whether it be in RAF or Army. And the difference, if they were to hop in the jet and something would go wrong in the jet, so i.e. if it caught fire, then that suit would just stick to their skin and it would be quite unpleasant for the person there. So wearing a flying suit gives us a bit more protection from any sort of flash fire in the cockpit, and it also stopped the flying suit from melting to my skin in the event of those kind of emergencies.
Very good. And tell us, what are some of the highlights that you've had in your career so far?
So my first tour at 3 Squadron flying the Hornet, I got to go to Guam within 2 months of being there, so participating in large force exercises, flying in an F-16, flying against F-15s, against the F-16s as well, has been quite amazing.
Yeah.
End of that year as well, I also got to go to Thailand and Malaysia, where we were fighting with simulator fighting with Singaporeans, Malaysians, and the Thai Air Force up there. Again, Gripens, F-16s, F-15s, and it just really opened my mind to what the larger world scale of military flying is. So that was my posting at 3 Squadron. After that, I went to 77 Squadron, where I got to participate in Operation Okra, so flying the Hornet in Iraq, actually doing what we've been trained to do on the jet from day one.
Sounds amazing. Thanks so much, Matt. So that was some great info from Matt yesterday at the air show. Now, we're here today, obviously. Make sure you're getting your questions through. We actually have had quite a few questions come through, so we'll jump straight back into them. Now, Charlie has asked, does the helicopter land on ships, and which ships does it land on?
Absolutely, it lands on ships.
Yeah.
This one here being from 808 Squadron, where the Maritime Utility and Support and Search and Rescue aircraft. So we mostly land on the bigger ships, like the one here on my hat.
Okay, yeah.
Which is one of our LHDs. It's sort of like a mini aircraft carrier that just carries mostly helicopters.
Right.
They also land on our frigates too. So we have basically the biggest ships in the Navy, the ones with flight decks on the back, we'll operate off them.
Yeah. And Cody has asked, are the helicopters real?
It doesn't look real, I agree. These are made of carbon fibre and a lot of composite materials.
Okay.
And they're designed to have a low radar signature. So they're getting towards a stealth helicopter.
Okay.
They're not, but they're moving that direction. So they don't look particularly real sometimes, but they are.
Yeah. Okay. Sylvia has asked, what was the hardest part of joining the Defence Force? So I guess what challenges did you guys come up against?
I think for me it was moving out of home for the first time. I joined at 21, so I didn't have much experience away from my family.
Yeah.
So that part, I guess. But like I said earlier, you're with all your mates and you overcome that homesicknesses together. And it's a short period of life. You get to come home, you see your family again. It's not like you move away and you never see them again. So It makes me enjoy coming home even that much more.
And so, Millie, you were actually quite a close-knit family prior to joining. So you and your mum were quite close.
Yeah, absolutely. So my whole family lived within a 2-kilometre radius of each other. So for me to move away and join the Air Force seemed like the biggest deal at the time.
But it's doable.
It's doable. It's completely achievable. And like I said, I joined in my early 20s, and I had all that time to gain who I was as a young woman, not only as the person I am, but also a member of Defence.
Yeah.
Experience, travel, all on my own 2 feet. So really set me up nicely.
Awesome. And Alex, did you face any kind of challenges going through the process?
Probably all the reading I had to do before joining. I found that challenging. A lot of study, unfortunately.
There's a lot of homework.
Yeah. Probably the shift in lifestyle. So I grew up by the beach in a small town, and then all of a sudden being in Canberra at the Defence Academy was a big shift. It's just something you've got to be ready for, that your life is going to sort of, how you spend quite a bit of your time will change.
Yeah.
But coming up with a good work-life balance, knowing how you spend your time when you're off the job and when you can make it home to see family.
Awesome.
It's good.
And I guess talking about that work-life balance, I guess a lot of the questions coming through and that we do see are in regards to getting time off and being able to go home. I mean, Millie, you just got married.
Yeah, I did. At the start of the month, I just got married.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And your husband is also military serving, yeah?
Yeah, so he's in the Navy. He's working down at our headquarters at the moment.
And they gave you the time off to be able to do
Yeah,
that?
plenty of time off work. Obviously, you know, we're humans, we're people too, so we need to recognise that, you know, people get married, people have babies and whatnot, so my work was really supportive of that. My boss was my MC at the wedding, which was great, so
Okay.
it was really fun. So lots of time off to see family, friends.
Yeah, Alex, you said you were mentioning about getting weekends off and...
Something I still find quite interesting. I've been in the military 10 years.
Yeah.
I do, what is when we're not at sea, effectively a normal white-collar job. You work 7:30 to 4:30 most days.
Friday.
You've got the occasional night flying or work on weekends, but when you're alongside, that's the way you work. And I'll still have friends or people who may be like, oh, we're doing something. Do you get to go home on the weekends?
Yes.
I have a normal life. Like, I'm just a normal person in society who does this.
I take this off and I'm at the cafe like anyone else on a Saturday morning, having a latte and reading the paper. So
Awesome. Okay. Now, Sarah has asked, what is the flying training process like and what's the best part?
Aerobatics would probably be the best part.
Okay.
And low-level navigation. And formation.
What's low-level navigation?
All of it is amazing. It's just incredible.
Can you elaborate on the
Sure. So
navigation?
we'll go to the training part. So when I went through, we flew CT4s, which is little sort of simple aircraft. And then we flew the PC-9, which is what the roulettes fly. Mm-hmm. You spent 9 months flying the PC-9 over in Pierce. That was the best part for me. That'll shortly be done through the PC-21. So when sorry, what was her name?
My name?
No. Your name, Emily.
Her name was Sarah.
Sarah. So when Sarah joins up, she'll go down to East Sail, and she'll do all her flying there on the PC-21, which is an incredible machine.
it's brand new.
Yeah. The first part of flying training I found was maybe the scariest, just when you're learning how to literally take off and land. Then you do a bit more of the heads down using the system stuff.
Okay.
I'm not as much of that kind of guy. I prefer looking outside and just flying the controls.
Yeah.
But then the second half of pilot's course is when you just do all the amazing stuff. You learn to fly in close formation. So you're running around with another aircraft 3 meters off your wingtip, or more fun, 3 meters in front of you. Yeah, you're trying to hang on to. You do low-level navigation, so you'll be beetling around at around 400 kilometers an hour, 50 meters above the Earth, without a GPS, just with a paper map in your hands.
Like what these guys are doing. That was a big one.
It can't hover though.
No.
So it's not great.
Okay.
And the navigation and aerobatics are just fantastic fun. And when you're
I've seen quite a few of those over the weekend. I've done some really good demos.
when you're pulling up vertically and locking the controls in and the aircraft's just flopping out of the sky,
Yeah.
it's some really fun
It looks
stuff.
unreal. Now, we actually had a chat, or I had a chat yesterday with your fellow pilot, Natalie, in regards to what some of the training is like, and she told us a little bit about that. So let's cut to that footage. So I'm here with Natalie. Natalie, introduce yourself.
So yeah, my name's Natalie and I'm a Navy MRH 90 pilot. We do humanitarian aid, disaster relief, search and rescue, and also logistics at sea. So taking people and assets from ship to ship or ship to shore.
Wonderful. And tell me a little bit about the stages of training involved.
So there's a few stages of training to become a Navy pilot. We start doing fixed wing flying with the Air Force on pilot's course. That takes about 2 years, and then we graduate with our military wings. After that, we come over to the Navy and we start flying rotary aircraft. So we do a rotary conversion and then move on to an operational type, which for me was the MRH 90.
Okay. And how technologically minded were you prior to enlisting?
Well, I joined the Navy straight out of school and I had no background in aviation whatsoever. But I think the really good thing about flying with the Navy is that they taught me everything that I needed to know about every aircraft that I've flown. So it's given me the confidence to be able to go forward, especially on an operational type, and know everything about the technology that I'm using.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of technology, what are some of your favourite tech or gadgets on this aircraft?
Well, the MRH 90 is pretty cool because unlike most other helicopters out there, Unfortunately, it's fly-by-wire, so it doesn't have the push and pull rods of a normal aircraft would have. It's all done by electronic signals, so that's pretty cool. The helmets that we also use are pretty cool. They're called a top owl, and it's a big visor that has a heads-up display and a lot of other cool cameras on it, with the best camera being a pilotage FLIR, which is a forward-looking infrared camera. And I can look through the floor, so if that's up on my visor and I look down, I can sort of see what's below the aircraft in an infrared picture, so that's pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And we do have some flight simulators here at the air show over the weekend. So how closely would you say they replicate a real training program?
Look, we use simulators a lot for training in what we do, and they are pretty realistic because you can feel the controls and you can see what's going on outside, and it's the same input. So I'd encourage anyone, if they're here, to come along and have a go, because flying a simulator is pretty close to flying an aircraft, and I think it's the best job in the world.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you so much for getting your questions through, guys. We've had some really good ones today, and I've got a few more to go yet before we wrap up for the day. Now, Charlie has asked, what are some exercises you have been on that are away from Australia? Alex?
I've done a couple of trips with the Navy. In 2015, I went on and joined a ship up in the UK as one of the pilots for that, and sailed back down via Spain, the Mediterranean, North Africa, around the Cape, and back across the Indian. That was really fun. Had some good experiences. Got to do some flying for the D-Day anniversaries over the beaches there, which was really nice. And I've recently come back from 3 months around Southeast Asia.
Oh.
So because I'm on the LHD, which does a lot of humanitarian disaster assistance sort of work, we do a lot of getting out there and showing other nations what we can do.
Yep.
So we had visits through Singapore, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, even places we flew through there. So.
And now, Millie, and I guess just because you're in an aviation role does not necessarily mean you have to leave the country, do you?
No, that's right. So while I've never been deployed, I've never gone to war, my business aircraft doesn't go anywhere that ends in Gan or Stan or Dad. So I go as far as, say, like Dubai or whatnot, and then another aircraft, another more serious military aircraft with some more weaponry on it will come out and take our passengers where they need to go. But I've still travelled the world with Air Force. I think I stopped counting about 29 countries in my first 6 years. And so plenty of places you can go. Also seen all of Australia as well, almost every territory, state, except Christmas Island. Except Norfolk Island. I haven't gone there yet. So everywhere else. Yeah, it's on the list.
Okay. Azim asked, he's currently in a civilian flight school. Can I apply to the Air Force even though I've already been trained?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's there's nothing wrong with having hours before you get in, and it shows that you're interested in aviation, so it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, Julian has asked, if you're not doing a highly desirable subject in Year 12, what is the alternate pathways for pilot?
Well, you could always go get into a university and study maybe like an extension maths or a physics unit at uni, and then use those subjects to, I guess, bonus points or credit points to up your ATAR and come over to ADFA. We see plenty of candidates that go through that because they didn't quite pick the right subjects in Year 10, and who knows what they want to do when they're in Year 10, so it's not...
You don't, do you?
Yeah.
Think about it.
If it doesn't come up, if you don't know from the time you're a little kid you want to be a pilot, you can always do Plan B, which is go to uni, study those subjects, meet eligibility and come back.
We have had some really, really great flyover demos today. Now, Matt has asked, he's got his assessment day coming up for pilot. Are there any things in particular that will be assessed there or at OSB? So anything in particular he should study for?
So because the whole process has recently changed, all we're looking for at your assessment day, Matt, is it? Matt is to know your, and to have a really sound motivation and know what it is that you want to do, why it is a pilot, why the service that you've chosen. So job knowledge will ultimately be available on the website, but the whole process has just changed. So all we're assessing is motivation at that stage, and obviously academics as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But do your research.
Study. And life experience is always a good... So employment.
Yeah, so what are you currently doing now, and why would the Air Force be better? What are you looking for that your current job doesn't offer you? Talk about things that on a real term basis, that this is what happens for me and this is what I'm chasing and this is what Air Force might be able to offer me.
Absolutely. And Charlie has asked, what support aviation roles are there in the Navy?
Okay, so the Navy has two kinds of flying aviators. So we've got three. We've got pilots, AWOs, aviation warfare officers who fly the aircraft, and air crewmen, who are the coolest ones because they get to hang out the door while we're flying. On the ground, we've got our maintainers and our aviation support personnel. So the maintainers are split into mechanical and electrical, basically.
Yep.
So we've got V-rates who run all the electric systems on the aircraft, and the A-rates who run the airframe. We've also got the AVNs. So you think of Top Gun, the guys in the colourful jackets running around. They're their own branch as well. Yeah.
Okay.
They're probably the second coolest, or at least the second coolest dressed. So we have those on the LHDs on our big ships, and they're responsible for moving the aircraft around, refueling them, one day rearming them as well.
Fantastic. And our last question, guys. What are some hot tips when joining, he says the Air Force, but we'll go Air Force and Navy. We'll have to talk to both of you.
Hot tips, I guess. The Air Force the Defence Force is made up of volunteers, so people who are in service want to be for a reason. So find out the reasons why you want to join. What are you missing in your life that you think, I want that sense of adventure, or I want that teamwork, or I'm chasing something that is landing like a helicopter on the back of a ship. You know, you're not challenged at the moment. We've got, I think the Defence Force is full of, say, opportunities. Like anyone can give you a job, but hopefully you're joining for the right reasons and you're chasing something that's currently missing in your life. That's what I would say.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Know what you're going in for, and be ready for a challenge. You're not going to have a great day every day. It's a job.
Yeah.
But the challenges of defence life are worth sometimes the stresses.
And the mates that you make along the way, they definitely help you during those challenging times.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a good team to be a part of.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to
right.
have a chat to us
Thanks for having
today, guys. Thank you guys for getting your questions through. We're going to wrap up for the afternoon. We are at the Wings Over Illawarra Air Show. It does wrap up today at 5 p.m. So if you are in the area, I do encourage you to come down and check it out. If you are interested in any aviation roles, just jump onto the Defence Jobs website, have a look at what jobs are available and get your applications in. Thank you so much, guys.